Uh, okay, so welcome back, everyone. Um, Apparently, I noticed earlier this afternoon that the time had went forward 1 hour. We need to remember fall back in the autumn, time goes backwards. Spring forward, fall back, spring forward. Spring, time goes forward. So it's now 6 o'clock and it's still rather lit up outside. So um, welcome back, everybody. So we just had an announcement, and the response has been rather massive, and individuals contacting and talking to people all over about the information that was revealed today. For those of you who were not able to pull up a website of the information that we shared, um, see if you can reach out to someone in order to talk to them about the information, or see if they can reveal to you or show you what it is that they discovered. I think what I'm going to do is post pictures, screenshots of the website myself. In fact, I think I will do that so that you all can see this information. So, with that said, there was some chatter, 111 comments that was made during the announcement. And amongst those comments, there was a few questions. So I want to go back and pull up the comments so that we can just go through them real quick. In the meantime, good evening, everybody. In the meantime, if you have any questions or comments or anything that you'd like to add or know, feel more than free, of course, to ask or state your comments. The last comment that I recall making and speaking about was Black Diamonds 27, where he had shared the Zillow values for Logan Circle's $500,000 to $800,000. And I'm gonna pick up from there. And once again, thank you, Black Diamonds, for looking that up and sharing with us from Zillow. They said, and I made a statement about Zillow. I might have been mistaken. I'm not sure who that was. I thought Zillow because Zillow is rather popular. But now that I thought back about it, I may have been mistaken about Zillow, and I don't want to give false information about any company. However, that seemed to be low. Let me say this before I continue. That does not mean Zillow's information is not accurate. What it means is you should also do comparison checks with anything that you get on Zillow. If you get off of Zillow, retrieve any information with them, take that same information and compare it to other sites as well. And what you might find is where Zillow's information might be inaccurate, another website might have inaccurate information about something that Zillow has accurate information about. I think that was perhaps an oversight because Logan Circle property that owned by the House of Prayer is not up for sale. And it could have been old information. So I don't want to give any bad rap to Zillow. A lot of people use Zillow. A lot of people use Zillow. I'm not advertising for them. I'm not a spokesperson. I'm not sponsored by anyone. But I don't want to give any negative information or bad information, especially about any reputable company. Zillow is a very reputable company that a lot of people use. So again, thank you, Black Diamonds, for that information. Oh, and they said that there was the market value of 2025 and 26. So that said, at that time, thank you. Josh says that last year everybody was trying to move out of DC, Virginia, and Maryland. So it could cause prices to drive down and be more competitive as well. That could have perhaps been one of the reasons why the price did not seem to be accurate. NBNC said Logan Circle is prime location real estate in DC, nothing in that area. Oh yeah, I did read that as well. Thank you, NBNC. How I got over, so why is Murray the registered agent for Portal for Portal Drive? They're not. He wasn't the. He wasn't the registered. He's not the registered agent for Portal Drive. I know it looks like that, and I think I said this too. You see Portal Drive's information all over the document. That's because the location Portal Drive is being used on that document as the headquarters, I'm assuming. I don't know. But that's what it looks like if I'm going to speculate. However, where it says registered agent, not so much for Portal Drive, which is probably what a lot of people were thinking. I know when I looked at it, it looks like it could be to us as members, we know what Portal Drive is. But to non-members of the organization who looks at this document, they wouldn't think that because they don't know what Portal Drive is. But Murray is the registered agent for Mr. Murray for the entity, United House of Prayer for All People. So as an organization, he is the man who's contacted or called upon by government officials for anything pertaining to the entity known as the United House of Prayer for All People. Whether you know about it, whether you don't, whether he alerts the members or not. So for those of you who are asking questions, well, why does he look? He walks around as if he looks like, he has authority. He doesn't have a position. He's not in anything that we're aware of, and he doesn't do anything that we put him in with a title to do any. These are all questions that would be valid, that may be coming up. I'm sure will be coming up. Because in a nonprofit, the members should be aware of whatever's going on and the individuals that are in these positions. Will someone type the website name? Mine says 6 Devona, and that was the results that came up under the name when they did an entity search. How I got over says Elder Dr. Rodriguez Murray. Yes. On the Dr. Murray. So good to see you again. First title is Elder Dr. Murray. The second title is Apostle. And what that shows, it looks like there was a second entry made, or it looks like the first form, Elder, was put there. And it looks like on the second form, Apostle was put there. But if this was done at the same time, the same day, well, I understand that, because remember, immediately after someone, I have to say this correctly so that things don't get twisted. Immediately after an election was held, someone who now has the authority after that election 5 days later, paperwork was done, and Mr. Murray is now in a position. So if you recall, Mr. Murray was also made an apostle, just like that. So if Mr. Murray is the one doing the paperwork, it looks to me like, well, he put elder because that's what he's accustomed to, he's used to. And then the next paperwork, oh, shoot, apostle. I'm apostle now. Let me put apostle. That's what it looks like happened. I don't know. Again, I'm speculating, but that's what it looks like. Black Diamond said corporate division, 2024 trade renewal list, right? That's the site that it was on. Ms. Mint says, this is correct. I'm a trustee for a family member. Right, we covered this. Legally, you're held accountable to only use the beneficiary's funds for the beneficiary themselves or beneficiaries, plural. You cannot use a position as trustee to enrich yourself or to benefit from that title. Everything you do must be done on behalf of those persons that has entrusted you to perform or do anything on their behalf. Next set. Karine says, thank you. Joshua says, I wonder if there's a difference between an agent and an owner. And the answer is yes. We had said before, probably prior to your being able to get on. If you go back in the beginning of this video, we had given definitions to certain terminology. One of those definitions was for a registered agent. And this is the individual that receives the benefits of the organization. I'm sorry, that's a beneficiary owner. Registered agent is the individual who represents the agency, the entity, and they're somewhat the go-between, the contact person that the governmental bodies are going to contact. They sit in the position to speak on behalf of the entire entity, in our case, on behalf of the entire organization. How they got that position, I don't know. Of course we know, but there's no formal method that was used or followed, no protocols that we're aware of that allowed him to end up in that position. No protocols, no policies. It seems that this was done by appointment. And an owner, the beneficial owner, is not the one who represents the organization, so to speak, in the eyes of the governmental bodies. The beneficial owner is the one, the individual or the entity that receives benefits from the entity. So in this case, the organization is benefiting Mr. Murray and the other individual that you see listed there. These two persons are benefiting from the entire organization. That's the difference. One receives the benefits, the other is contacted to represent. Ms. Mint says, a reminder, okay, like, share, and subscribe. How I got over. Apostle Hal probably knows nothing about these documents. And that has been confirmed. A phone call was made to someone who did confirm that he is still the national representative in the House of Prayer in the organization. He's still the national representative. Ms. Mintz says, who is this Murray person and why is he so important? That is a question that many people are asking. There's many people around the organization that know who Mr. Murray is. There's many people who don't. Mr. Murray was there at 6th and M Street for years. And the bigger question is 5 days after an election is held, all of a sudden his name is popping up on all this paperwork, all of these governmental documents. that's filed with the government, where he's a now board member. Who put him on the board? We didn't. We didn't know anything about a board, where he's now a board member. He's now the registered agent of the organization. He's now the trade name owner. He owns on paper the trade name United House of Prayer for All People. And he is the beneficial owner, again, on governmental documents that's already filed, which is public record. So this is the individual that has been pushed forward in the organization without being pushed forward within the organization. He's been pushed forward in the organization without being pushed forward within the organization. On paperwork, it looks like he's exactly what the other individual is. So as one of two beneficial owners, in the eyes of the governmental bodies, it looks like you have 50% ownership over this entity, that you have authority to make decisions. You can make rulings. You can decide things. You can choose to do things. You can set people up. You can take people down. You can do anything you want as an owner of the entity, just as the other individual that the document is showing as an owner can do whatever they feel like. Now, the problem is, again, in a nonprofit, this is not the case. Anyone, Google, can a nonprofit be treated as your own personal property? Can a nonprofit be treated as your own personal property? And I'm going to pull it up and I'm going to type in the exact same thing. Can a nonprofit be treated as your own personal property? Answer, quite simply, no. A nonprofit cannot be treated as personal property, as it is a public benefit entity with assets dedicated to a specific mission, not private gain. Founders or directors do not own the organization, and using it for personal benefit is illegal under IRS private annulment and self-dealing rules, which can trigger taxes or loss of tax-exempt status. Key reasons why a nonprofit is not personal property: public ownership. Assets belong to the community and for the organization's mission. The property of a nonprofit is for the organization's mission, but not the founder. No private annulment. Income or assets cannot legally benefit insiders like directors or officers. We have a problem here that I won't talk about, but many of you understand that our books says things that doesn't say this. So again, we have outside regulating agencies looking at reviewing this stuff. And this is where we're waiting. Okay. Governance. A board of directors hold legal authority, not an individual. The board of directors hold legal authority. Now, the problem here is we were not aware of a board of directors. So when I said that I might need to apologize, here's my apology, my public apology. I'm sorry I apologize wholeheartedly from the bottom of my heart um, to the members of the organization, to the general populace, as well as to the leadership of the organization for giving information that I was not truly in the knowledge of, that I was not in the knowledge of, that had been filed in government records. I was under the impression, along with you all in the organization, that there was no board. I was under the impression, along with you all in the organization, that we don't have owners. I was under the impression, along with you all, that the members have say so over these things. I was under the impression, along with you all, that the leaders that make these decisions, whoever they are at the top, that they are making decisions in the best interest of the members and the organization. I was under the impression that the people have some type of control over the individuals at the top. Apparently, I was wrong. Apparently, on paperwork that's been filed, the members have a board that we knew nothing about whatsoever. I apologize for saying that there is none. Apparently, we have representatives that we knew nothing about whatsoever. I apologize because I said there is none. Apparently, we have owners. Who knew? I apologize because I thought the people who owned the organization were the members. And in so doing, I had to clear something else up. The members don't own it. The members as a body make up the organization. So what I was saying is that the organization owns the organization. In other words, everything that is here is to be used for the organization. But no one is supposed to be using the organization to enrich themselves and taking anything that belongs to the organization to use for their personal use. So I apologize because I didn't know all of these things. Here's another apology to the leaders. If I'm wrong about a board of directors and beneficial owners and about the trade name owner being Mr. Murray, if I'm wrong about this information that's been filed on government documents, if I'm wrong about that truth being out there, and if the information was put on those documents, even though we don't really have a board, if we don't really have a representative, if we don't really have owners, if I'm wrong in drawing a bunch of questions from this information to the attention of the members, then I apologize. Because obviously it's drawing a lot of attention that is unwanted. However, the questions are valid. And this really does put us in a position, a unique position at that, to where the members have to ask themselves, should we be bothering anybody to answer our questions anymore? I say yes, we should be tugging on people's coattails. We should be reaching out to people. We should be calling people. We should be asking these questions. We should be reaching out and doing everything we can to get to the bottom of this, because none of us know what's going on. And there's so many things taking place behind our backs without the knowledge of the members of the organization itself. The problem is we shouldn't be asking the ones who's sitting up in these positions. We should be asking people outside. And since for now over 10 to 14, 15 years, I couldn't find answers to nobody in these positions. I've now decided to go outside. So now that I'm bringing attention to these matters to individuals that's in position to make determinations and decisions based on the information that they're reviewing as to whether or not they should investigate, those are the people that I will be trusting when they look at this information and tell me what's been going on. Since obviously I can no longer put my trust in people above me to be transparent and allow me to know what's going on in an organization that I gave my life to, in an organization that I have given at least hundreds of thousands of dollars. It may have been over 1 million, might have been over 2 million. I haven't calculated. Many of you have given millions. Many of you have given hundreds of thousands. Many of you have given tens of thousands. And many of you gave your time when you didn't have money. Many of you gave your strength when you didn't have money. Many of you gave your attention, and you gave your children, and you gave your property, and you gave all kinds of things that you could have used for yourself and your family. You gave that in the organization, not knowing that individuals at the top is doing all kinds of things apparently that we don't know anything about, and we're being kept out the loop, as well as out the knowledge of the things that's being done to put people in positions to make decisions on our behalf year after year after year after year, and we don't even know anything about it. That brings me to another question. I'm going to type, is it legal for a nonprofit to have board members that none of the members of the nonprofit are aware of? Is it legal for a nonprofit to have board members that none of the members of the nonprofit are aware of? The answer that I have, while it is generally legal for a nonprofit to have board members that the wider membership is not immediately aware of, it is rarely considered best practice. Nonprofits are required to list their board members on public filings, such as the IRS Form 990, making total secrecy difficult. However, they're not usually required to proactively announce every change to their general members. And I get it. So this is saying, no, I don't have to tell you who our board is, according to what I just read. But I do have to file it in public records, which is interesting because the public filings that we read today shows that we have a board of 3 people. And the 3 people are, once again, Carol Jackson, Janine Green, and Apostle Mary. So even though this is saying that the board of directors does not necessarily have to be known among the general population in a membership, we can keep it to ourselves as long as it's listed in public record. And if you don't do your own due diligence and find the public record where our board is, that's on you. We follow the law, it's there. I get it. So that leads me to another question. If Carol Jackson and Janine Green and Apostle Mary are on the board of directors, I'm just Googling, Is it legal for a board of directors to be appointed over a nonprofit without the knowledge of its members? Now, it says whether this is legal depends entirely on the nonprofit's bylaws and state law. If the bylaws establish a self-perpetuating board where directors elect their successors to appoint members, it may be legal, even if voting members are not involved. So this says it's not illegal. This says that it can be done, but it says it can be done if the Constitution allows it. Well, we know the Constitution doesn't allow it. We know our Constitution says nothing about a board. We know the Constitution doesn't go there at all. And then why those three members? Why is it that the board of directors is made up of three people that it looks like are completely controlled by one person? And these three individuals are very, very closely related to friends of this one person. So it leads me to another question. Is it legal to have close friends or people that is under the control of a CEO to be appointed to the board without the members of the nonprofit being aware? While not expressly illegal in many jurisdictions, appointing close friends or subordinate employees controlled by the CEO to a nonprofit board without member awareness is considered a severe conflict of interest and poor governance. Such actions violate the fiduciary duty of loyalty and risk IRS penalties for excess benefit transactions. Now, this again gets into severe um, conflict of interest. And we're already aware of many things that show conflict of interest according to the many, many things that we've shown and verified already through the channel. Let's look at the risks. If the CEO exerts undue control over board members, it can lead to legal penalties against both the individuals involved and the organization, as noted by the National Council of Nonprofits, the group that regulates nonprofits. So it seems that the organization itself can be held accountable from things that look like they have a severe conflict of interest. It looks like the organization itself can be held accountable for a lot of these decisions, a lot of the acts being carried out by just a handful of people. It looks like the organization itself can be held accountable for things that the members know nothing about, leading me to assume that there is a very dire need for us to ask questions to individuals outside who's reviewing this information to allow us to understand all these things taking place in our organization where we've given our entire lives and our earnings and our energy and our strength, and we've exerted so many things, including family members. We need answers to these questions. And at some point, should this action continue? Let me go back to the comments and let me read what's here. How I Got Over says a nonprofit organization cannot have an owner in the traditional sense. There can only be directors. The assets of a nonprofit belong to the community or a charitable cause, not individuals. And that is 100% correct. A nonprofit cannot have owners. So my question would be, well, why would the nonprofit have beneficial owners? Well, according to an act that was carried out, let me go ahead and pull it up so that I can tell you all where to find it. Why would a nonprofit have beneficial owners? Listed Why would a nonprofit have beneficial owners listed on its governmental documentation? A nonprofit would list beneficial owners on government documentation, specifically primarily to comply with the Corporate Transparency Act. So there was an act which was passed January 2024. The requirement aims to combat money laundering and tax fraud by identifying individuals with substantial control over the entity, such as senior officers or directors, even if the nonprofit is tax exempt. So that tells me, according to the document that we've seen, if Mr. Murray is a director on the board of directors, he has been given substantial control over the entity. My question is, who gave him that control? If the members don't know anything about this, then the obvious answer is he was appointed and handed this control. And then, now that he's on the board of directors, he can be named as a beneficial owner. My question is, who made the decision to make him a beneficial owner over the entire organization, of which now he has control as a director on the board? Who gave Janine Green control over the organization? Who gave Carol Jackson control over the organization? If in fact there is a board of directors where they are actively participating on without the knowledge of the members. Who did this if none of the members were aware? And lastly, is this something that you all agree with? Is this an action that you all have no problem with? Is this something that you all don't care about? Or are you in question of these actions being carried out and Mr. Murray being the owner of the name United House of Prayer for All People on paper? Are you okay with Mr. Murray being on the board of directors that we knew nothing about? Are you all okay with Mr. Murray being named as the registered agent, the contact person on behalf of the organization, you and I included, that we know nothing about? Are you okay with him being appointed as a beneficial owner, along with this other individual being appointed, self-appointed as a beneficial owner? Because once again, a nonprofit can have that, but not necessarily have to have that. And if they do have that, then how is the individual appointing themselves as a beneficial owner when the purpose of having a beneficial owner is so that you have oversight and make sure that the government in the organization is legit, to see to it that there's no opportunity for money laundering? Well, how can you make sure there's no laundering when you're the one in the position to make all the decisions about the money? You have no oversight if you're the one making all the decisions and nobody gets to question your decision making. No one gets to question the choices you're making about the spending. No one gets to question anything you're doing with any of the money. That's not the purpose of the beneficial owner being named according to the Corporate Transparency Act. The purpose behind the act is to make these entities transparent about their financial dealings. This is not transparent according to what it is I'm looking at. So you all correct me and tell me if you all agree with these actions being done and these individuals being on a board and Mr. Murray's name being put on every single thing that gives him control over the entire organization. Let me go back to the other questions that were in the announcements. How I got over says exactly right. And I'm sorry, that was B. Mevderman. NBNNC says, at how I got over, probably not. Wonder if D knows. And NBNNC was answering how I got over's question as to whether or not Hal is aware of these documents. Yeshua's King says, Apostle Murray is the fall guy. So when or if things went left, he's the one that will be the one standing in the court in front of the judges. That sounds like it could have some validity to this, like it could be the case. However, for me personally, it just, it feels too close to home. Mr. Murray is traveling everywhere. Mr. Murray, I understand, holds the pen whenever there's a pop-up. Mr. Murray, his hand is involved in too many things that I'm hearing about, that the people did not give him any approval that he should be doing these things. The conflict of interest is how can he serve in those positions, which in a nonprofit you're supposed to be serving, and yet also be the one to cheer and push the people to do certain things financially. If you all recall, Mr. Murray was working along with Mr. Taylor. Mr. Taylor allows a lot of room for Mr. Murray, and now it seems like we know why. Mr. Murray was creating programs for the people in Washington to give a lot of contributions on behalf of, to personally benefit certain individuals. Mr. Murray names being used and directing people to give while trying to increase the amounts of contributions that's going to be of personal benefit for certain people. And according to what we've been reading, all these things are not supposed to be. So when these things come into the light, a lot of people are going to have a lot of questions that certain ones are going to have to answer. And when you answer truthfully, the truth to those questions will get. Let me just say that there are consequences in the law for doing things that the regulating agency says ought not be done. The problem is, if the law is not aware of these things, well, then nothing happens. But these things can lie dormant for years. But when the law is directed to this information, all of a sudden they're aware of it. Well, now that creates a mobility, and eventually things begin to happen because now that they know, they have to do something. So when I say that we're waiting, I'm saying we should keep waiting because this is their job. And these outside regulating agencies are very, very good at their job. So we should continue waiting for them, but not giving too much attention to individuals to answer questions that we already know they're not going to really give the answers to our questions, because as they've been saying for over 100 years, we have not had these answers given to us for over 100 years. I have someone who reached out to me. I'm just reading this for a moment before I come back because they're actually writing to me about the video. Okay. You know who you are, who texted me a few minutes ago. I'm actually reading your text now. Good. I'm glad it worked out. Okay. I'm going to take care of this right after we're finished here on this live. So just hold out. But give me a few moments. And if you don't mind, I might even go ahead and call you when we get done with this. So just stand by. And any questions that you have, just text them to me. And I will answer your question on here. If it's not too personal, I'll read your question, then I'll answer it. But if it is personal, then I won't read your question. I will just give you the answer. And for the rest of you, I will phrase my answer to the question in such a way that you will receive the information also. So stand by for me. And again, thank you for bringing it to my attention. So if you can't post anything, just text me and I'll go ahead and answer here. Absolutely. You're welcome. They just texted, thanks. You're welcome. Josh says, yo, got some explaining to do. Right. From I Love Lucy. So people got explaining to do. How I Got Over says, this is the work of Cunningham and Madison with the help of Mickey Bill. Well, it seems like that, and a lot of the members are saying that, but we really don't know yet. So I want to be careful about what I put out because I don't want to mislead anybody. So as we discover what's really going on, we may bring that information forward if the individuals that we're working with says it's okay. But what I want you all to understand is that there's a lot going on that we, the members, don't know. It's taking place behind our back, behind closed doors, in buildings, offices, and residences that we not only do we not know, but we probably would not approve of if we knew these things were taking place. So it's good that we're learning this information now so that we can decide for ourselves whether or not we want to continue doing anything to involve ourselves in something that might be fraudulent, or should we wait to make sure that we're not involving ourselves in anything that might be fraudulent. So these are very, very valid and necessary questions for us to pose to ourselves. Security, um, staff, individuals around individuals that make decisions, just understand when these things come forward, the ones who are close and nearby, the likelihood is you will be questioned, and you don't want to be in that situation. So you might want to also ask yourself whether or not, now is a good time to consider some things or what. But this is very, very, it's very sensitive for us to come into this knowledge and knowing that we're looking at government documentation that is sharing things that we didn't know anything about, giving people in our organization authority over everything in here. So again, you all let me know if you agree with these things being done. Ms. Mint says he's saying the member's voice doesn't matter. And it certainly looks like that. To make these decisions, to appoint people to put in these positions over the entire organization, to make decisions that's going to impact and affect everything in here, it looks like the member's voice doesn't matter because there's nobody seeking the member's voice. There's no meetings being held where the people are being invited to the table to discuss what's really going on and what say you. What would you like to happen? What would you like to be done? Which is really, 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 really an issue, because if the people in the General Assembly are the ones who decide who is going to be a chief executive officer, if the people decide that, if they decide that, it's interesting that the person that they decide is going to be the chief executive officer, it's interesting that the chief executive officer is now treating the people like, I don't care what you think. You're not going to have any say so in any of these decisions. You're not going to tell me nothing about nothing. You're not going to say nothing about nothing. I don't even want to hear nothing about nothing. Don't worry about no questions. Don't ask any questions, and forget the idea or the notion that you even have the opportunity or the authority to ask a question. Who are you? Interestingly enough, that question was asked last year in Buffalo, New York, by somebody at the top. We have the recording where this person says, who are you? I don't have to answer any of your questions. The problem is if you work for the people and the people are the ones who put you there, well, it's like a governor or a mayor or a president. Even the president works for the people. And the president understands that the people put you there. With that in mind, it looks like, yeah, no, the people do have say so. But as long as the people act like they don't have say so, well, then they won't have any say so. And this is why going this route is necessary, because obviously the people have not known, the people have not been aware, the people have not been made aware, the people have not been told that I work for you. My decisions are to benefit you. My decisions are to benefit the organization. What my decisions are not benefiting is me. What my decisions don't benefit is me. I'm not here for me, I'm here for you. And that is what we should be hearing. Unfortunately, that's not what it looks like we're hearing. All these things appear as if these choices and decisions aren't being made to benefit the organization or the people. So, yes, somebody got some splaining to do. Um, Josh says the General Assembly is just a shadow board. And unfortunately, it sounds like that also is true. The problem is the shadow board is the board that's on the documents because they're the ones in the shadow. The General Assembly is the one that's out in the open in the front. It looks like we've been deceived into thinking that we are making decisions when the reality is the decisions that we've been led to believe that we're making, those decisions are really being made by people in positions that we don't know nothing about. Or after the people have made their decisions, it looks like there's people in positions making decisions to go against the decisions that the people have made. And those are the decisions that's going to stick because those are the ones that the government says they have the power. And that's why the question on the announcement video is who has the power? According to the documentation that's been listed on the government website, the people don't have the power. There's two people who own the own the organization. There's one person who owns the name. There's one person who's the registered agent. And that one person who owns the organization, who owns the name, who's the registered agent, is also on the board. That one person, Mr. Murray. I'd like to know how Mr. Murray did it. I'd like to know how he got there. I would like to know what strings Mr. Murray pulled in order to get on all four of these positions and government documents that says, this is the man. The other owner of the organization is only listed on one document, but Mr. Murray is listed on all three and as a board member. The government says Mr. Murray is the man. And he has more say-so and more pull and more power than anybody in here. Everyone, according to the government documents, Mr. Murray has more authority in here than Dolores Madison, Miss Madison. According to the government documents, Mr. Murray has more authority than everyone in here except one person as a beneficial owner. Truth be told, according to the documentation, in my understanding, the way I understand the documents and the definition of these documents, Mr. Murray actually has more say-so than the other beneficial owner because the beneficial owner is not on the board. But it looks like he doesn't because the beneficial owner is also named as the sole trustee. So I'm saying, for those of you who don't understand this terminology, if you go back and rewind this video, take the time to look up these terms so that you can hear and read for yourself the definitions and look at how these definitions line up with our organization and ask yourself, do you agree with this? If you agree, no problem. But you need to understand that the people that have these titles can make a decision about anything and everything in here that's going to affect you and me. It's going to impact everything in here. I, for one, have a huge problem with every single thing I've said today. But my problem will never be heard. My problem will never be discussed, and neither will yours, because we don't have a table to sit at. There is no meeting to listen to our voice, because there's no care, no concern being shown towards consideration of the members of the organization, where every single thing in here is being controlled, ruled, and decided upon by 1, 2, or 3 people. So, with that said, let me go back to the comments and let's see what we have here. Okay, these are quite a few comments. Let me finish the comments on the last video, and then we're going to come to these. Ms. Mint says, Ms. Bailey is an attorney. A part of her responsibility as an attorney is to practice due diligence. Does she not know she is an accomplice to illegal activity? Question mark. The answer to that is I'm not sure. That's not true. I can't say that she knows that she is an accomplice to illegal activity. I can't say that. Even though everything screams that we've seen in writing that she signed her name to, and given the fact that she signs with Esquire, then it gives the impression that as a lawyer, you absolutely know what you're doing with each and every act that you carry out. So based on what we've seen, it certainly would appear as if this lawyer is aware of what they're doing. I have to say it that way. Devona at Yahshua is King says, I think you're right, is the fall guy. Joshua Edwards, Miss Mintz at Joshua, this is sad and true. Joshua says, Miss Mintz, her name isn't on any of this though. Plausible deniability. What that means is she meaning Miss Madison, gets to say, I don't know anything about it. And if he's not talking about Miss Madison, then he's talking about Mickey Bailey. And he can say, well, she's saying, I don't know anything about it because her name is not on this document. Her name is not on the governmental documents that we're aware of. However, her name is on governing documents within the organization. And that is the document that I'm talking about. Her name is not on governmental documents in the websites listed on governmental forms, but her name is on governing documents within the organization where the entity is known as the United House of Prayer for All People. And that, making sure I say this correctly the way I need to, that can be a huge problem for someone who is an attorney. And I have to say it that way. So someone says, either way, it's fraudulent. I can't see this, there's a glare. But they said either way, it's fraudulent. No matter whether they know, no matter whether they don't, what they've done is fraudulent, is what they're saying. Devona says, it sounds like Murray is the one man, LOL. And they're saying this because Mr. Murray's name is on all 4 forms. Not only that, to be the trade name owner, the board of directors, the registered agent, and the beneficial owner, they're saying it looks like he's the one that's the man. I would agree. Josh says, I plead the 5th. Yes, they are misleading the entire organization, is what it looks like. He's saying it looks like the people at the top are misleading everybody in here. And this is why I'm saying this to security. Even though security distances themselves from politics, even though they don't get involved in the stuff, right? This, that, or the other, even though they don't get involved, this right here sends a strong message to security. If you have individuals that's doing things intentionally, if you have individuals doing things intentionally, if you have individuals intentionally committing whatever, then security, you want to consider seriously a few things. I'm going to leave that alone. But it certainly looks the way that he just said, that people are intentionally, knowingly misleading the entire organization. And I said that the first time when I talked about the Constitution being rewritten by a few people who knew what they were doing. They absolutely knew what they were doing, which is why 400 and now about 48 videos, 448 videos later, not one cease and desist. Not one. People know if an order goes out against me to appear in court, it's not going to be pretty. Not because my intent is to cause chaos, not because my intent is to harm anyone, not because my intent is to bring anybody down, not because my intent is to turn people away. No, it's only because my intent is to bring awareness. And that's the one thing that scares people. When you have somebody that can make everybody aware of what people have been doing in the dark, in the behind the doors, or in the shadows, they don't want to bring that person forward. And this is why we have not received not one cease and desist. Because in that seat, in that room, everything comes out into the open and it will be verified, confirmed, and validated by those in that room in front of everybody. Now, I know that people don't want to hear this, so I sincerely apologize to people that this information might be hurting. But it's better that you hear this information and hurt today and heal tomorrow than ignore this information and be deceived today and end up ashamed tomorrow. I couldn't stand hearing this information. It ate at me because, as I've said, many of you, like myself, we gave the majority of, if not all of our lives. Others who did not give their whole life or a great portion of their life, even the little bit of time they put in here, they meant it. They took hold of everything and ran with it 100% with all of their gusto, their energy, their effort, their time, their money, their attention. They poured their hearts into what we know of as the United House of Prayer for All People. So it hurts to hear that maybe I've been deceived, maybe I've been tricked, maybe I've been lied to. It hurts worse to hear that the people who deceived me or tricked me or lied to me, it hurts worse to hear that they did it intentionally. They did it willingly. They did it knowingly. All those things hurt. So we're not saying that that's what happened. We're not saying that anybody intentionally did anything. But the information that we're presenting certainly does make it look like people intentionally deceived, manipulated, and tricked and kept people out of the loop on purpose. The outside regulating agencies reviewing this information, they will be the ones to determine what's going on in here. With that in mind, I'm saying that the individuals serving in positions of security might want to step back and take a look at this. Because almost every time you've seen a celebrity being questioned, they almost always pull aside security. Because many times security knows a lot of stuff because they've been a lot of places, seen a lot of things, and heard a lot of conversation. I'm just saying, we need to be thinking about this as we go forward. So as we finish up these comments, Ms. Mint says, pick a side, Cunningham. You say we don't need no board, but the government document proves that you have a board. And yeah, it looks that way. Pick a side, Mr. Cunningham. It looks that way. We heard a recording. There's other recordings that we have where he speaks against having a committee, having a board. You don't need no this, that, and the other. We never did that. We've always only had one man this, one man that. But the people are not aware. One, they're not aware of the law that says, no, you're supposed to have a board. You're supposed to have a committee. You're supposed to have an oversight. You're supposed to have people lined up who review what you do, who question the decisions that you make, and who tell you you can or cannot do that. The law says you're supposed to have those things because when the law looks at our entity known as the United House of Prayer for All People, the law will not say that this person cannot be judged by no man. The law won't say that. The law will say, no, we're here to judge the information that's being set before us. The law will say that, no, we're not in a position where only God can judge this person. The law is not going to back, oh, well, wait a minute. We see here in the Constitution, now only God can judge them, so we have to leave this one alone. We got to give you a pass because they're only to be judged by God. That's not going to happen. We've seen many people in like positions, just like this, being handcuffed, booked, and sitting behind bars for a very, very, very long time. And we don't like hearing that. But at the same token, those individuals had every opportunity to stop doing whatever it is they might have been doing wrong. You don't hear me saying that they did wrong. What you do hear me saying is that they had every opportunity to stop doing anything they might have been doing wrong. The same way, anybody within our organization has time to stop doing anything that they know they might be doing wrong. All we're doing is looking at information and speculating what's going on here because the law says this is not right. What's going on here because the law says this ought not be. What's going on here because the law says that something funny is taking place. And we ask questions because we don't want to assume that y'all are doing wrong and you know you're doing wrong and you're lying to us. That's why the questions come. So it looks like, as she said, do you want a board or do you not want one? We are hearing we don't need no 4, 5, 6 people telling us what this and that and making decisions and voting on stuff. But out there, you're saying, no, 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 no. We have a board and the people, they vote. The people, they have discussions. The people decide on what's going to happen with the money, where the money is going to go, what we're going to do. No, no, that's the people. You see, my name is not there, which is why I say it looks like he kept his name off so that it can be said I'm not in the decision-making process. That's those three. And the board tells me what they approve, and then I go and do that. But we know on the inside that that's not what's happening. And since the paperwork and the governmental website looks like that's what's happening, well, we inside the house of prayer, we're like, wait a minute. Y'all remember, I said this yesterday, like Martin Lawrence used to say, hold up, Gina, hold up. At that very moment, something didn't hit right. Martin was saying, hold it, stop the presses. Let's figure this thing out here before we go another moment, another step. The organization should be like, wait a minute, y'all, hold on, because we need to fix this before we go any further. Something wrong here. I don't need a sermon. I don't need a group of people telling me, pepping me up, talking about we've been doing this 100 years. Well, what have you been doing 100 years? Have you been lying? Have you been covering stuff up? Have you been manipulating the people? Because this is what the information is looking like. I need to know what you say. And all these years, no answers. So now let the regulating company agencies come in, let them review it, let them make the determinations, because these are professionals. These are experts in their field. They deal with this stuff all day, every day. They know what they're doing. So when they tell us, this is what we found, this is what's going on, then those are the ones we need to believe. Anybody saying rah, rah, sis, boom, bah all day long to cheer on behalf of people, that doesn't do anything whatsoever when it comes to the law of the land. The law don't want to hear anything about rah, rah, sis, boom, bah. Cheers, cheers, cheers. The law is going to look at this information and deal with facts. What have y'all been doing behind these people's backs who make up this organization that you keep going to contribute more and more and more and more and more and more and more? You need to ask yourself, how is it, why is it that apartment buildings in New York, people need to send rent to North Carolina? Why is it people living in DC got to send rent to North Carolina? Why is it that other apartment buildings in New York pay rent to people in New York? People in DC, other apartment complexes pay rent to people in DC. Why are these different routes being set up for money to flow? Money goes here for this, money goes there for that, money goes for that, money goes there for that. I'm telling you, people, when these regulating agencies see things like that, it speaks volumes. Ms. Mintz says, members, I urge you to keep your money until you get answers. I didn't say it. She said it. Until you get answers. One thing's for sure, Mr. Murray's sitting at the top. And I have a problem with him standing in the front, holding a collection plate for people to put money in, knowing that you have a bunch of secrets that you ain't telling nobody about. Seemingly. But on paperwork, this is information that you never shared with anyone. It's interesting. Grace Audric says, be patient, stay calm, and most importantly, stay in prayer and let God's will be done. Absolutely, 100%. This is what we've been saying. Just stand still. Don't do anything erratic. Just wait. Irene says, every nonprofit must have a board of directors. That's law of the land. And this is true. This is true. Problem is, we never knew we had one. In all these years, we never knew we had one. That kept the people out of the loop. How I Got Over says, that may be the law of the land that we have a board of directors, but why didn't we know about this particular board of directors? And that is a very, very good question. Marine says the law of the land says we're supposed to have a board of directors. Our constitution does not show anything about a board of directors. The members of the organization never even heard about a board of directors. Nobody in here knows anything about a board of directors. There's not an election. There's not a nominating process. There's no protocols. There's no policy. There's no procedures. There's nothing whatsoever in the entire organization or its governing documents of the organization or any meetings of the organization or any title by any body of any representative of the organization that says anything whatsoever about a board of directors. Not true. I just played a recording where one person talked about a board, but that's the CEO who said we don't need one. We've always only had one person telling us what we're going to do. In fact, I have a recording where he also said, I make changes. I make those changes. I make the changes, you obey. You carry them out. And that was when he increased the walking down the aisle, I think from $3,000 to $5,000. Auxiliaries now have to give $10,000 in order to have a number. My point, people, is decisions are being made. Yes. Choices are being made. Yes. Things are being done. Yes. But is it on behalf of the people? When we had the government furlough, 45 days, the people did not get one thing. Nothing whatsoever. But the people are told to trust God. Trust him. So when the people are in need, and again, I have to say this, there's people who don't want to hear what I'm about to say, but it's necessary for you to hear it. If this is hurting your feelings, it's a good thing. The hurt is a good thing. This is what awareness does. It's good to have your feelings hurt. It will shake you awake. I hated hearing this, but I'm grateful today because if we don't hear this, if we're not awake, then how much longer would these types of things be going on? What needs to happen for us to see that the things being done is not benefiting us, but it's benefiting a handful of people? During the furlough, people saw for themselves that there's nothing being done to benefit the people. And it seems that the people have been told, as I heard over the last 40 plus years, to do. And when the time comes that you're in need, that he is going to do for you. Times we are going to have to take care of you. The house of prayer is going to have to do this. The house of prayer is going to have to do that. But the whole time I didn't know that there's three people at the top, or somebody over here is a representative, or somebody over here with a trade name that they own, or somebody over here is a beneficial owner, where the decision making is being decided that no, we're not going to do anything to help the people. We tell the people trust in him. We're not going to use all of this money, all this profit. We're not going to use none of that to help the people. Y'all crazy? We get to keep all of this for ourselves. No, it's not ours. No, we didn't raise it. It didn't come from our pockets. It didn't come from our family's pockets. This came from the people, yes. And we're going to keep the people giving. And we're going to do with it whatever we feel like doing, and no, it's not going to benefit them or this organization. I say that because, as I said in the last video, there's information that I wanted to make public to you all. There's more public information that I've not talked about. Mr. Commodore There's information that we have about your business, businesses, plural. I have questions for all these different councilmen that's got businesses that the members of the House of Prayer don't know anything about. And why is it that they go to members of the House of Prayer to work for their business, but the things that they're doing is not what normal business practice regulates? Why is it that when these individuals do things that look like normal business, the members are also experiencing things that aren't normal when it comes to a company and working for a business? How is it that these things are being done year after year after year after year after year, but we keep hearing we've been here 100 years? We have questions, and there's a lot of things that I can show even further, the paperwork. And by that, I'm not going to show the paperwork because for Mr. Commodore, because there's other people involved that you know about, that you know about. Same thing with your wife. And I don't want to implicate other people who might not really know what's going on. So I said that just to allow you to understand, all of you, that there's people over you as councilmen and as chairmen that's doing a whole lot, just like we saw in this other governmental document, that people all the way at the top are doing without your knowledge, without my knowledge, and behind our backs. Do I want to continue putting them in positions where they're being honored and holding anybody up who's taking advantage of me, who's lying to me, who's deceiving and manipulating me and treating me like a complete fool, it seems like, on paper, who's not doing anything in consideration of me and mine, my household, my family, whenever things go dark, whenever the government is not providing because my job, who might be with the government, is no longer paying me, but I can't go to the cafeteria to get a sandwich. I can't go to anyone to help me out now that I'm on hard times, not because of any fault of my own, but because of what's going on in these current times. We can't go to our organization for assistance or for help. We have to always be taken out of our pocket, taken out of our pocket, taken out of our pocket for a few people at the top to benefit and to live lavishly, while coming out once again for me to take out of my pocket again, and coming out for me to take out of my pocket again, and coming out for me to take out of my pocket again, and coming out for me to take out of my pocket again, but not once ever coming so that they can take out of their pocket, which is really money that I put in those pockets. Or there's money that has been taken out of the organization to fill their pockets that I know nothing whatsoever about, while using people around the organization to get us to continue giving and giving and giving when there does not seem to be a whole lot of getting from a nonprofit organization that's been established in order to help people, but yet has never helped people. And for those of you who talk about low income apartment or housing, if we go into that bag of problems, then you will see how even that setup has also been done to take advantage of people, seemingly on paper. It looks like, the paperwork looks like, even the properties are being used to take advantage of every single one of us in here. So I'm 100% in agreement. There may be That may be the law of the land that we have a board of directors. And Kareen is 100% right that we should have been aware of a board of directors, because the board of directors is what has oversight over the executive offices, to make sure that decisions like this are not being made, to make sure that actions like this are not being done, to make sure that everything that's being done is transparent, out in the open, and that the members fully approve of. That's what the board of directors should have been doing. But her question, how I got over, why didn't we know about this particular board of directors at all? Why is it that we had to find out? I tell my children, I don't mind so much that you do things wrong. I do mind that you do things wrong if you don't come and tell me about it. And if I find out from somebody other than you, the trouble you're going to get into is going to be worse, because you should have come to tell me. Why is it that we're finding out about these things by other means? Why do we have to go and research this stuff only to find out that the things that's being filed is not what's really going on in the organization? Not only does it look like this paperwork is full of false truths, the outright word is lies, fraudulent documentation filled with lies according to our everyday normal practices in the organization. The members know that these things right here, these things are lies. If that's the case, then should I believe the things being told to me by individuals within the organization? If you're lying to everybody outside of the organization, are you telling us the truth inside of the organization? When it looks like the things that we're hearing inside are also not true? Josh says, Grace Audrey, yes, yes, and yes. To wait on our Father above. Finally, okay. MBNC says, Kareem, yes, but board of directors are voted in. And she says, MBNC, board of directors are never appointed. If you hold shares in a company, you always get an annual notification about voting for board members. And this is true. I'm in 2 credit unions, no more than that. I get notifications whenever a board meeting is coming up, whenever a board of directors election is coming up. I get information about who the individuals are that's running for nomination, who the individuals are being nominated. Whenever there's a decision or an allocation made, I get a notice in the mail that the board of directors decided to make this allocation. This is how much money we're putting into your account because we've allocated that the shared interest holdings in your favor is this amount. This is how much you get. I'm benefiting as a member of a credit union. I see my benefit. I don't have to reach out to them. I don't have to call them. I don't have to contact them. It's automatic because the board of directors is doing what they're supposed to be doing by law. And the decisions that they're making is in the best interest of its members. Whether they hear from me or not, they're working for me. When they send me a letter letting us know an election's coming up, do you want to participate? I might not participate. They don't care. They're sending out the notification anyway. They're doing everything out in the front, transparent, fully transparent. Every single thing going on in here, it seems and sounds and feels like it's a secret. Can it be fixed? 100%. Can it be changed? Absolutely. Should it be fixed? That's a question. Should it be changed? That's another question. We're waiting on the outside regulating agencies to let us know after they review the information. Because people at the top has failed in giving opportunities for the people to confront them with these questions. There has not been a meeting. I ran around all year long last year trying to have one meeting in front of the people. One meeting. Deny, 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 deny. Over 164 meetings have been held within the organization, official meetings, where discussion could have been had about what took place in the 2023 May General Assembly. My business was tabled as unfinished business. That business has consistently been pushed back to intentionally not allow that business to be discussed openly. Why does it seem that leadership is working to not create the opportunity for the people to speak about things openly? Especially with this type of documentation being revealed, it appears that decisions being made and things are being done to keep the people in the dark while we do whatever it is that we feel like doing, despite what they feel, because we don't care nothing about what they say. That's the impression being made. And when you had leaders leading and there's no concern or no consideration about you as a follower, and everything they have, their title, their position, their status, their everything, including how they live and what they're living on, is coming from you as a follower, then is that wisdom for me to continue to give and give and give and give and give to someone who cares nothing whatsoever about me? And when I lose my income, I'm told to tighten my belt, not to buy things that I don't need, frivolous items. Look at my spending. While there's a brand new $600,000 car in the front that was just purchased, but the $600,000 could have been used for these people who don't have income. That's just one occasion. My point is, things don't look too good, and we have questions. MBNNC, board of directors are never appointed. If you hold shares in a company, you always get an annual notification about voting for board members. Josh says, what position does Apostle Rodriguez Murray currently have, y'all? None. The answer to his question. Ms. Mintz, yep, they're always voted in. Board of directors are always voted in. Kareen says, agree, because the people did not vote for that board, so it's illegal. Now, again, this is what they are saying. I'm not saying this. I'm not saying that I agree. I'm not saying that I disagree. I'm reading what it is that individuals are saying. There's a lot that I can say about this topic. There's a lot of laws that I can show you. I don't want to do that because I know it's going to lose people to hear about legal terminology, policies and procedures of the court. So with that in mind, I'm simply saying, and you cannot deny the fact that we have questions because this stuff seems that it's all over the place. MBNNC says Joshua Edwards, not a councilman, nor a pastor, nor an evangelist. To answer, what position does he hold? None. Grace Roderick says the devil has certain power, like the love of money is the root of all evil. But God is mightier. All power is in his hands. Absolutely. But on that note, remember what the wicked one said when he tempted the Messiah in the 4th chapter of Matthew. After he was baptized, it said, immediately he was led up of the Spirit to go into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil. One of the temptations was that if you fall down and worship me, I will give you all the kingdoms of the earth. So now we know, according to the scripture, that it's very much possible that power and positions and status can come from the wicked one, even though he has to allow it. So a point I'm making on top of Grace's statement, 100%, all power comes from him. But there are some individuals that have been placed there by someone other than him, but directly he still allowed it because he can stop anything at the drop of a dime. So we understand that there's a reason for it. Romans 8:28, all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord and who are called according to his purpose. Everything, good, bad, and different. Josh says NB and NC may be legal representation acting as an agent on behalf of Cunningham. But even though that might be the case, what I want you all to understand is, even though that might be the case, working as an agent for, when your name is on government documentation, the government does not see you as working for them. When your name is listed as a registered agent, then you don't represent the CEO. You represent that entire organization. When the government sees your name listed as a trade name owner, he doesn't represent the CEO of the trade name. The trade name owner, by the government's understanding, is the man. When the government sees that same individual as a director and also a beneficial owner, the government does not assume that this person must be working for that person. Because remember, the CEO does not make the board of directors. The CEO does not hire a board of directors. The CEO is hired by a board of directors. The board of directors tells the CEO what to do. The CEO does not ever tell the board what they're going to do. So in the eyes of the government, they won't see this as Mr. Murray working for or to represent Mr. Cunningham, because on paper they see Mr. Murray as the beneficial owner, and then they see this other individual. Along with Mr. Murray, there's one other individual, and they're both beneficial owners. Mr. Murray and this person, 50-50 partners sitting at the top over the entire organization to benefit from everything the organization owns. That is a huge problem. Mr. Murray can decide anything, say anything, do anything, just about, according to the authority given to him on that document that is now registered and listed in the government's database. Let's continue. MBNNC says at Joshua, or just bag holder / driver / companion of some sort. Because remember, I think they're saying this because he used to carry his bags, he used to drive them around, and they were in each other's company for years prior to this. Joshua Edwards says, yes, exactly, NB. He said, I shouldn't overthink it, NB, LOL. At How I Got Over It says Dolores Madison is pulling away because it's getting too hot. And now her name is Bennett and she's not in it. And it does look like she's separating herself. The problem, though, with Miss Madison trying to take her name and her hands off is whenever she attends services, she's still sitting all the way at the top. So, how much have you removed yourself and distanced yourself if the people, everybody inside and outside, see you sitting at the top? If they see the CEO and they see the CEO's wife, the obvious question is, well, who's that woman? I know who he is, I know who she is, but who's that other lady? Now, question might be answered. Oh, that's the behind the chair. That's who that one is. The silent. Sometimes in business, you have a loud partner and you got a quiet partner. That's who they refer to as the silent partner. I'm not saying that's what she is. Very methodical. But the question is, who is that sitting up there? And why is it that those bags, remember we talked about bags, there's one bag that goes out with the men. But I'm not going to go here tonight. What I've been able to piece through all these videos and these pictures I've been putting together, there's more than one brown paper bag. There's one bag that goes up there, but all this time I was not thinking to look at everything and examine everything. There's more than one bag. And it dawned on me, all those envelopes, pastor after pastor after pastor after pastor after pastor after pastor, G-class, 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 G, jug lift, love gift, bag, envelope. That little bag is nothing compared to all that other. And she's sitting up there and it's orchestrated so neatly that we had no idea all this time. And those envelopes and those envelopes and those envelopes and those envelopes, they're not inside that bag that go out with those men. They go somewhere else. Now I'm going to stop there. But you notice there's two people wondering who's up there. Now you're distancing yourself. But things are not looking right. Questions need to be answered. And I, for one, have had way more than enough of the mystery. And I'm now at that point, listen, we need regulation because this has gotten way out of hand. Way out of hand. And now that Mr. Murray is running the organization, it seems on paper, as a silent, going all over the place and having authority over everybody, telling pastors what to do. Let's go to the two more before we come to these comments. Josh, thank you for the update. Absolutely. Josh says, wow, y'all, there was speculation of a hidden board of directors talked about a long time ago too. Y'all may remember I talked about, I believe that there's a board that nobody knew anything about. And I left it alone. I just hinted. Golden Boy. So Apostle Murray is basically Uncle Murray. Uncle Murray, not Daddy Murray, is what it sounded like. Anyway, Josh, Golden Boy, yes, sir. LOL. Golden Boy, Uncle Dr. Mary. Golden Boy says, trying to keep up here. Miss Mint says, Cunningham, if you see this message, Mr. Cunningham, do what's right. Stop before it's too late and more members get hurt. Step forward and come clean. Golden Boy, he can see it all he wants. He's so deep in that. Let me go to the next page. He's so deep in that he has to double down and hope for the best, right? That's what I have heard so many people say, that there's a point when you get so far in that you can't stop. Not because you don't want to, it's just you're too deep in. And when you're too deep in, you get stuck in the mud, you can't pull yourself up. Because when you push your other leg, trying to pull the other leg out, your other leg sinks down deeper. And now you push that leg down to try to get this leg out. That leg sinks down deeper. And now they're so deep, stuck. We have lifelines, but in order for us to help, you have to take hold of the lifeline so we can pull you out. Golden Boy, it's impossible to undo all the years of deception he's a part of, and that may very well be the case. We don't know yet. It's coming. A lot of answers are coming, but unfortunately, we don't have a choice but to rely on people who's going to look at all this stuff, and they're going to share with us their findings. This Mintz is not worth it. These are people's lives. The Lives of Him and Her says, thank you, everyone. Please make sure you thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on your notification to keep up with all the future videos. Absolutely. Thank you. How I Got Over says, I know Cunningham is either, Mr. Cunningham is either watching this video or has someone watching. Either way, we will hear the recording from Philly tonight. Right. He is in Philadelphia this weekend. And it'll be interesting how the services went tonight, especially tonight. The Lives of Him and Her. Let's stand together for transparency. We'll be back at 6 p.m. Eastern. Please turn on your notification. And that was the comments from the announcements made earlier. Let's get to these. The Lives of Him and Her. Welcome, everyone. If you have any questions, please post them in the chat. Brother Lewis, welcome all questions, right? Black Diamonds, message retracted. Question. Janine Green and Carol Jackson, members of the United House of Prayer, are they solicited names used for a front for the government not to acquire information? I'm going to say it looks to me that way. It looks like their names are being used without their knowledge. It looks that way. I don't know, but it looks that way. When you see their contact information is Portal Drive, address 1665 North Portal Drive, Northwest, Washington, D.C., 20012, 1665 North. It looks like their names are being used without their knowledge of it. I don't even suspect that they were even aware of this document that is in the government website. Vice versa, or on the flip side, if they are aware, then it's even more troubling, because all this time, the members did not know that y'all on the board. Y'all have said nothing to any of us. Is it a real board? Is it just a board on paper? When are your meetings? What's going on with your meetings? Why aren't we in the know about what you're meeting about? These are all very, very valid questions. And I suspect people will probably be reaching out to Janine as well as Carol to bring this to your attention. Do y'all know that y'all's name is on government documents for being on the board of directors of the House of Prayer? And there's only two ways that they can respond. Well, three ways they can respond. They can either say, yeah, but we can't. Or they can say, what? What do you mean my name is on? Or they can just ignore and not respond at all. Only one of those responses will allow people to understand that they had nothing to do with all of this. Only one response will allow us to understand that they had nothing to do. And that's if they respond with surprise. And then if they tell everybody else who asked them, I knew nothing about it. I know, I heard, I don't know. I'm waiting to hear back, hear from them now because I've contacted them about it. But it certainly looks to me as if their names are simply being used. But we don't know. The lies of him and her. Please thumbs up the video. Thank you. Corrine says, like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. How I got over. A nonprofit organization cannot have an owner in the traditional sense. There can only be directors, right? The assets of a nonprofit belong to the community or charitable cause, not individuals. Exactly. Josh says the concerning part to me is that we don't know what authority or purpose they have. And that is exactly what I'm saying. For none of the members of this entire organization to not even know that there's a board and to not know anything about Mr. Murray being on the board and to not know that he's the trade name owner. He owns the name of the House of Prayer according to government documents. To know that he himself is a registered agent, to know that he's a beneficial owner and what authority they, all of these are questions that we have no clue. We don't know how to answer this because these things have been a secret, and rightfully so. I completely understand why they didn't share any of this information with the members, and I'm sure they're not going to share any information like this, especially this sensitive, with the members at all. Which brings us to other questions as to what should be done. And that's something that will come up later. How I got over. I'd like to call out Apostle Commodore's son, who attends H Street, who's hiring anybody to be caregivers, whether they have experience or not. That is illegal and should also be investigated. What they just said, I'd like to call out Apostle Commodore's son. Apostle Commodore is aware of what's going on. Apostle Commodore is aware of a lot of things going on, just like many of the other councilmen are aware of a lot of things going on. But their job is to stand in front of you and boost somebody behind them and keep your eyes on that person while lifting that person and exalting that person and making you believe that you need to also lift and exalt that person and keep the income flowing for this person because they get things that the members don't know nothing about. And there's businesses being set up that the members don't know nothing about. And these businesses being set up is being set up by money that the members know nothing about. makes me curious even more so as to why we have men over congregations in positions as chairman and councilman that's rallying all the time for you and I to keep, when we were not aware of things being done in the back that flows into the pockets of these chairmen and these councilmen that you and I don't know nothing about. So all this activity where you got the same ones hooping and hollering all kinds of things, trying to get us to say yes. That's their role. That's their job. But in order to assist them, they have two groups of people in this organization that they rely on most. The first group are the bands. These men, pastors, councilmen, chairmen, they know in order to continue anything, they 100% need the bands. They need the bands and they need the choirs. Because as we've said time and time again, the bands and the choirs is what keep the people distracted. What are they distracted from? All of the collecting of all the finance that's being raised after week after week after week of all the finances being raised in the local houses, while also listening to the bands and the choirs entertain. So this whole system is really being pushed by men who's using the bands and the choirs to distract from the collecting. And all the collecting is going to benefit apparently people that we didn't know that's on government document as beneficial owners, where the board that we didn't know about is making these decisions to create programs and set up businesses for people up here in the front that y'all don't know anything about, that's opening up income streams coming through these businesses that y'all don't know nothing about, that's coming from the money being contributed by you all. Some people got some splaining to do. And so if the chairmen, pastors, and councilmen, if they could not look and point at this group of men over here who's making music, because remember, you're being let me put it like this. The best bands are not invited unless they pay the most money. The bands that don't pay are not invited to play. Who's being used more? The ones not being invited or the ones being invited? And by being used, I mean taken advantage of. And then when they're invited, they got to come out of their pocket for travel expense. They got to use their cars, wear and tear. They got to fill up their tanks with gas. They got to pay for hotels for themselves. They got to pay for the food for themselves. They're not getting anything out of this deal. And they got to come out of their pocket with even more money in order to be there to play. And while there, they give even more money after they've contributed so much of it already to be invited. The smart ones, to me, is like, it's the group over here who's not being invited. Not paying no 80, 90, 100, 120, $130,000 for you to invite me. And then each trip we got to pay another $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 for the trip itself. Rental vehicles or our own vehicles and hotel fees and food, only to play, to distract, so that more and more and more of this goes up there. Even CDs being sold and DVDs being sold. What are the bands getting out of that? The second group of people are the choirs. Pastors, chairmen, council rely on to distract. I guarantee you the bands did not know, the choirs didn't know that Apostle Murray is over every single one of them. They didn't know that decisions being made about them too. I'm sure they didn't know that Pastor Murray is benefiting from their presence and everything else in the organization. So when we as a people stop and take a look at what's going on, you have to ask yourself, do I agree and approve of what's taking place, what's going on? If the bands and the choirs are not there in the building, ask yourself what a service would look like. Are they going to give a word? Even when it's time for the word, you already know 10 minutes of not the gospel. My point is that this is alarming information that opens up a gate and a door for all kinds of questions for us to look at everything else going on in the organization. And these questions that you all are asking for this individual to say, I'm calling out Apostle Commodore's son. They're saying, I'm letting it be known to everyone that his son has a business attending 8th Street and hiring anybody to be a caregiver. How can you hire people to be a caregiver, to give care to a senior or someone who might need healthcare services, and you have no training? You have no qualifications. You have no certificates certifying you to give care in a specified way, shape, or form according to the laws and the regulations of your state. You can't just hire anybody to offer care to individuals. Now, I don't know the ramifications of whatever this is that's going on, but my point is that we have all types of things going on and taking place. And it's interesting that they brought him up after I said what I said earlier. But there's several of the councilmen that don't want me to talk about their names, that have businesses. And I mentioned before, we're dealing with millionaires that y'all don't even know are millionaires. And people laugh at this. But there's a lot of money flowing through the pockets of these councilmen. And they're getting treated very, very well to stand up in the front and to cheer and to prep to get you all to do, while even the government shutdown, the furlough showed everybody in here, what are you going to get when you need assistance? Not only did the top not do anything, but let me ask you a question. How much did your councilman do to help the people? How much did the chairmans do to help the people? How much did the pastors do to help the people, to help any of you? But every single week, you're there to give. They're there to take pastors' offering. Chairmans, they want an offering. Councilmen, whenever they do whatever. But the biggest problem is you got money flowing behind the backs of the people that no one knows anything about. So yes, 100%. If you have people hiring people to do work and y'all getting paid in questionable ways, there's no paperwork being signed for tax withdrawals and FICA and all these other things that you might see as a problem, but the paying of these things is what allows you to be able to withdraw Social Security down the line when you need it. Those things allow you to draw disability down the line when you need it. Those things allow you to get workman's comp when you need it. Those things allow you to get unemployment when you need it. If there's no record of you having an income because people are paying you in sidebar ways that are questionable because they're treating you as a member of the House of Prayer like, these are members of the House of Prayer there. Come on. Just give them some money and they'll be all right. That's how people are being treated. There is such a thing called, there's certain things called labor fraud. There's also something called theft of goods and services. Again, y'all can look these terms up. My point is a lot of questions need to be answered. I'm not satisfied. I do not like these things taking place. You all tell me whether or not you like it and approve of these actions and these decisions being made and these things being done behind closed doors. Ms. Mintz, though it may be legal not to disclose a board of directors to the members, it does not negate the fact that there is still violations of transparency. Exactly. Now, what she's getting at is what I read earlier. It says, and all I'm doing is reading what the law of the land says. It might be legal to withhold that information from everybody. They don't advise that you do it, but the only thing that was being said is it's not illegal. It doesn't mean that it's good. It doesn't mean you should do it, but there's no law that says you can't, is what they're saying. And for our organization to be doing things apparently that it looks like they shouldn't be doing, it raises some red flags, in my opinion. Ms. Mintz is saying that still there's transparency issues here that she has an issue with, that we ourselves should probably have some issues with. Ms. Mintz, in addition, the nonprofit has public disclosure obligations they must abide by. Absolutely. There are other regulations that a nonprofit must follow. And amongst those regulations, we have a ton of things that our organization, surprise, surprise, is not following, that the members knew nothing about. The lies of him and her. Every single member of the organization is entitled to know the truth. Exactly. The truth is what it is that I'm simply bringing to everyone's attention. And by making these things aware for you all, it gives you a better understanding of what's going on behind closed doors. So I'm bringing information that should have been made available to you from the organization. All these things should have been done completely out in the open. We shouldn't be fighting one another trying to have one meeting. Over 150 meetings has been had where it looks like nothing was done that benefits the people or the organization. And by meetings, I'm talking about council has been meeting. State elders councils have been meeting. The general council has meetings, and they've had over since 2023 May. This is 24, 25, 26 is almost 3 years later since the day that I tried to bring these things forward for the entire organization to learn about the manipulation of the Constitution. Almost 3 years later, and now we're discovering that paperwork has been filed in the government that we see as an organization is not true at all, according to what we've seen on the inside. And if it's true, well, this goes back to the transparency that Ms. Mintz is talking about that has not been in our organization by the leaders, because you're keeping this knowledge from the people. Is it because you're making decisions that don't benefit the people and you're only benefiting yourself? I ask you, what decisions has been made to help anybody in here? So the point is, when you look at all of this overall, it should allow us to take a sit back and seriously take in what's happening before our very eyes. Because with all of this going on, it looks like, well, you can do anything you want. The members, they ain't going to either say nothing, they're not going to care, or you can do whatever and ain't nobody going to do nothing about it. I dare you to do something about it. That's the impression. Somebody said that we're dealing with nothing but a bunch of bullies. This is the impression. Only because they can. And they can only because the people have not yet done anything about it. Well, now it looks like something can be done about it. And it looks like more and more and more people are coming to a place where they're saying, you know what? I'm going to just wait too. Because this right here, no. If you agree with all these things, by all means, have at it. But if you don't agree, then you need to also take a serious look in these other things as well. Shy says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge because thou hast rejected knowledge. This verse comes to my mind when I listen to all of this. 100%. 100%. And people know that if I keep you in the dark, that there's nothing you can do about what I'm doing. I can keep operating in the shadows and you can't do nothing to stop it. But here's your problem. We're talking about all of the properties and the assets of the organization literally being in the hands of one person to decide and determine anything and everything, and nobody can question them whatsoever. The law of the land says that cannot be. You can't do that. So for the members who were not aware, we have individuals outside looking at all of this. And again, any day. And for those of you who are tired of waiting, just keep waiting. Any day. But the people's lack of knowledge is what has allowed all of these things to take place. Ms. Mintz, I thought about that verse this morning. Absolutely. How I got over it, said Cunningham. Ms. Mintz, yes, transparency is a major issue here. Stop doing underhanded things and making shady deals. It would be nice if they did stop. But my point is that there's many places, many organizations where the people understand that if there's certain things that are done by people in different positions, that they have a recourse that they can take to either undo or fix or correct those things. There's absolutely nothing whatsoever that's being afforded to the members of the organization to undo, to correct, or to fix these things. That's what I'm saying. Black Diamond says, no, I don't agree with the actions and authority to elect individuals that we are not aware of if they exist. Absolutely. And I doubt that many other people agree at all. Golden Boy says, Fall Guy. Speaking of, once again, Mr. Murray, I believe, Ms. Mintz, and we call this a religious organization? Right. Individuals that's doing things that people themselves don't understand is coming from a religious organization. Ms. Mintz says, why would we even need a fall guy if we're not violating any laws? That part. If you're doing nothing wrong, what's the purpose of setting somebody up to take the fall? Take the fall for what? You represent all of heaven? All of these holy men with titles of apostle, elders, shepherds of the flock, pastors. These are supposed to be examples of holiness. Tiffany says, or Tiffany, who is this Murray guy? And this is something that a lot of people have been saying. Mr. Murray is someone that has very, very close ties with the former pastor of 6th and M Street. For years, they've had a very, very close relationship, and they did a lot of things together. He would assist him in all kinds of things. Apparently, after an election was made and one individual was put into the position, Mr. Murray is the first individual that this person made an apostle. Unbeknownst to the organization, he was also put on paperwork 5 days after that election to name him as a beneficial owner of the entire organization. So he is the, according to governmental documents, beneficial owner of every single thing in here. He's on the board of directors and can make decisions to affect and impact everything in here. He is the trade name owner, owning the name United House of Prayer for All People, according to government documents. He's the registered agent, the individual who speaks on behalf of the entire organization. And the people did not give him that position. The people did not appoint him as any of these things. The people did not even know anything about it. Mr. Murray. And more importantly, the person who did these things did not have the authority to do those things. This is what needs to be discussed so that the people can find out what's taking place in here, what's really happening in here. Ms. Mint says, right, anyone have history on this Murray guy? And I'm sure some of you who know him personally can answer this question. Ms. Mintz, our beloved United House of Prayer has become a modern day den of thieves. Terribly sad. These are the sentiments from the people. It would be nice if the things being done did not look that way. And we can't get upset at what people feel. The same way we want people to lift and lift and lift, we can't get upset when people have reason to not lift. No, I don't want to lift. I don't want to exalt. I don't want to give, and I don't want to support. I don't want to contribute. I want answers. So this is not a plea for anybody to stop doing anything, to stop attending, stop contributing, stop supporting. But these are things that will alarm many people and say, you know what, I'm done. I'm gonna wait. And the reality is, it looks like as long as people keep traveling and keep giving and keep participating and keep donating and keep whatever, that the ones who could be answering these questions, well, why should I answer anything? The people obviously are okay. The people obviously don't care. The people obviously don't have a problem with it. So it looks like the ones who are supporting and actively participating and doing this and doing that, some people say that that's a problem. Some people saying that you are part of the problem. I'm saying, however you feel, don't cause or create any animosity or any problems for anyone. You see the information, just accept it for what it is. Take it, make up your mind what you're going to do. Always do the right thing while waiting for whatever the outside regulating agencies are going to decide. Josh says, I thought Shadow Board was a group that gives little input or perspective while a real authoritative board exists. Sorry if I got it mixed up. No apologies. Anything that anybody comments on here, when I respond, I'm not responding directly to you. I'm responding in general so that everybody will understand my response to your comment. My understanding, and you may be right, my understanding of a shadow board is a board that's operating in the, or not just a board, but it's like the other phrase, working in the shadows. Shadow board is a board that's operating in the dark, doing anything and everything in the dark. But the fact that we have a General Assembly that the people believe has the power, that General Assembly is out in the front. But according to how you're saying it, the General Assembly, according to the leaders, they're in the shadows, they're in the dark. They have no clue that they don't have any power. According to the leaders, if you're saying it that route, then I understand better. According to the leaders, we don't worry about them. The people can legally request the minutes of the General Assembly by writing a letter to headquarters. And legally, they're supposed to give you a copy of the records, the minutes of the General Assembly. All I wanted to do was have them read the minutes of the General Assembly. They denied it. And that was the first indication to many people there, wait a minute. You can never deny someone's desire to hear the reading of the minutes. If you're putting up a motion to waive the reading of the minutes, and somebody says, no, I want to hear the minutes, you must read the minutes. But I was denied my request. And for those who were there, they're all witnesses, which is why the decision was made to have the pastors re-elect new delegates so that those persons would not be at the next meeting. And we've talked about this before. B. Mevderman said that's right. In fact, I really need to read these comments as I'm talking so that I can understand what you're commenting to. From now on, I'll do that. Devona, where can we find the financials for the United House of Prayer since it's a nonprofit? That's a good question. In fact, if you Google how to acquire financial records for a nonprofit, then that'll tell you where to start. Almost any place is going to tell you can write directly to the nonprofit and request it. And as long as they're on the up and up, as long as they're doing everything right, well, there shouldn't be a problem with them fulfilling your request. If there's a denial of fulfilling your request, then that's an immediate red flag. Immediately, something's wrong. We're not saying that they're doing anything inconspicuous or illegal or whatever, but something's wrong. Something's wrong. And things like that stand out when it comes to the regulating agencies. Golden Boy says, ultimately, we have a board, but they have no use other than being on paper and attaining whatever benefits they get for keeping quiet and propping up the bishop, although he's just a mascot for whatever it is that they actually have going on. Uncle Daddy Murray is huge, he says. And they're saying these things based on the information that they now know. So people saying, now I get it. That's why he walks around as if he has authority, because obviously, according to the government, the second biggest man in the organization, if he's not the biggest man in the organization. The question is, who made him that? Who gave the person who gave him that position the authority to give him that position? Devona says, Miss Mintz, no financials posted anywhere. I believe since the organization is tax exempt, they are not legally obligated to. Right. And that is accurately put in some instances. You can start with the 990 by contacting the IRS. And there's a division in the IRS where they can research and pull up this information for you. Again, there's a lot of information that's been covered up or tucked away. But individuals are coming across this information, and it is alarming. Golden Boy says strategic in keeping his name off certain documents to make it look compliant. Yes, it is strategic. And he's speaking about the one person who we would think his name would be on there, and that's the trustee. But taking his name off is strategic because as the individual in the CEO's position, your name should not be on everything. And it's illegal for your name to be on everything. It can't be on everything. It can be on and should be on some things, but not all things. So with that in mind, it's very, very strategic. There's a question that came through by text. Is it illegal to run business through the church? That's a good question. But if you don't mind, can you be more specific? That's going to generate a lot of responses because you have to narrow it down. Is it illegal to run a business, a specific business, a specific type of business? Is it illegal to run profit business? You have to narrow it down through the church or through a religious entity or nonprofit. You have to ask that way. But yeah, just text me again so I can understand better your question, and then I'll pose that question here. Most criminals, Miss Mintz, are strategic, she says. And a lot of them are. But some are not. We just don't know which one this group falls in. Ms. Mintz says that statement, we've been here for 100 years, is so pathetic, and we've been flat out wrong for 100 years. That's nothing to be proud of. And this is quite a few people's response as well when they hear this. We've been wrong about many things for 100 years. according to documentation, according to scripture, according to public statements that's been made. We've been wrong about a lot of things for over 100 years. How I got over, Miss Mintz, that is so true. I said the same thing, right? How I got over also says, Mr. Lewis, thank you for creating this platform of truth. We need to know these things. God only uses one man, and in this case, it was you to tell the members that we have been wrong for 100 years. Wow. Yeah, there's been others that have shared as well what I'm sharing here. Um, I'm grateful to uh, know that there's many people that are also involved in what we're doing. Also, we know that there's many people that's been waiting for an opportunity such as this, but we have not had the technology. There has been other people who wanted to try to come forward to the organization, but at that time they didn't have the technology to do this. So we're grateful that our Father, our Creator, knows what He's doing, and there's a time and place for everything. And we could not have done this without all of you being part of it. So I'm grateful that my wife has been a huge, huge help in many of these things and efforts that I've taken. Many of you have been a huge help in the efforts that we are attempting with the organization. Members throughout the organization has been a huge help in what we're doing. And there's individuals that are still in positions of the organization that's also assisting us in what we're doing because they don't like the things that they see. There's different positions that they're being placed in that's uncomfortable for them. Um, Almost in all levels and all facets, there's people who's reaching out to assist us. So we appreciate that. And though we have not had an opportunity to have a platform where we could speak, again, that's what this channel has been set up for here, especially the fellowship. And I'm grateful for you all's input and participation as well. So thank you, How I Got Over, for sharing that. How I Got Over also says Madison sits at the top and the money bag sits between her and Cunningham. Oh, yeah. So where the CEO sits is here, his wife is up front, but Miss Madison is behind the wife, tucked back in the corner. And yeah, where she is, there's a lot more control of the flow of those brown paper bags. So again, I only know about one. Well, now I know that there's two. No, it's not even two. There's more than two. Because again, there's envelopes that's being presented coming up, right? From the pastors. And then there's bus envelopes being presented. And that comes up and that's got to be, accepted and passed over, right? We don't see that's not going in that brown paper bag. And then there's another brown paper bag over here. We don't see that's not going there either. Okay. So there's a lot of activity going on that the members don't know nothing about because distraction. And you all need to understand this isn't because of the spirit, because we're doing a whole lot of worshiping. It's because from the moment that door opens up, that middle door, until the services at the end where he's waving the handkerchief, from both of those moments, in fact, extended further, money's being collected the entire time. So this is big business. And we need to understand as a people what's really going on right under our noses. So Golden Boy says, Paul, I know, but who is that other lady? They're quoting a part of the scripture where evil spirit in someone says, Paul, I know, but who are you? Clever. I like that. Grateful for it all says, go there, Lewis, LOL. Can you let us know what you meant to go where? Kareem Bratton, and you must have your meetings minutes available when requested by the members and the shareholders. Right. Whenever a request is made, you have to furnish the minutes. You have to have the meeting dates and times and locations. All that stuff has to be made available to the shareholders if they want to know. Why? Because they want to know before they contribute, before they offer, before they give a tax write-off donation. They want to know that their money is going to be put to good use. They want to know that their money is going to be used for exactly what they are being told that money is going to be used for. The mission of the organization that is named as an entity and as a nonprofit. That's what they're given to. They're not given to a mission that's named as an entity, that is an organization that is for profit. That's not what they're given to, because you can't write that off on your taxes unless you're in business with the owner of this for-profit company. But the House of Prayer is not for-profit. It's simply being treated like one according to the paperwork that I've seen. And all the members need to be asking questions if the organization is being treated as personal property owned by someone. And this is why Mr. Grace got in trouble, because he kept calling everything in the House of Prayer his. Well, now it looks like we know why. Whenever he talked about my apartment buildings and my buses and my houses, I built y'all this, and y'all need to take care of my. Well, it looks like he meant every single word. With all of these things going on and going out and going forward, it would be interesting to see how much time goes by before we start getting questions answered. Let's go on. Let's move on. Corrine says, I'm not sure. Okay. I'm not sure if that's illegal, because a family member or a friend can be a caregiver without experience. Yes, I should have clarified this. And thank you for saying this. I should have clarified. People can serve as somebody assisting by giving care to persons in need. I'll say that again. People can serve in such a capacity that they assist by giving care to a person in need. As a child, I did certain things to assist my grandfather who needed certain types of care. We have individuals that, even today, but when we talk about the title, which I'm assuming that's what the comment was about, the title of caregiver, when using that title by law, there are certain assumptions that are made that come along with the title. What type of caregiver? What areas are you certified in? What areas are you qualified in? And depending on the answers to those questions, that will determine the type of caregiver that you can or cannot be. I think they were speaking about people being hired to perform services wherein normally a license or a certificate or classes that you've passed are required. So, but thank you for sharing that. Grateful for it all. There's bands and choirs. I think they're saying, oh, no, they're not saying that. Bands and choirs, right. The question that I asked, the two groups of people that pastors and chairmen and councilmen rely on, bands and choirs, exactly. People don't even use CDs anymore. That's so outdated. Miss Mintz, yes. But my point was that the CD sales, and they still generate, right? Some people still use CDs in their cars. And some people use CDs to download the music from the CD. But the CDs and DVDs, the income that came from those sales did not go towards the bands or the choirs. Therefore, they did not benefit. And this goes back to beneficial owner, right? Because if you're the beneficial owner of the entity, then that means that today Mr. Murray would benefit from the sale of CDs. Mr. Murray would benefit from the sale of DVDs. Mr. Murray would benefit from the sale of anything in the cafeterias. Mr. Murray would benefit from tickets being sold. Mr. Murray would benefit from the products being sold, from the literature being sold. Mr. Murray benefits because he's a beneficial owner. Along with Mr. Cunningham. Ooh, I didn't mean to say that, but on the paperwork, on the document, the other name is that name. Two beneficial owners. And that is hugely problematic. Hustler says, now that's a fact. No pay, no playtime. If you, and they're just confirming what I said earlier, if you are not giving and contributing and paying extremely vast amounts of money, if you're not among those top bands, you will not be invited to play on programs. You will not be invited to set up and play when the largest programs are available. Today, this might change because right now the participants are dropping. The numbers of individuals traveling are dropping drastically. People who are attending is dropping. People who are still contributing are dropping. People who have been giving, those numbers are dropping as a result of learning about all of this information. They're not continuing to do what they've been doing because they didn't know. But for the bands, same thing with the choir. You have to pay extreme amounts of money. So you're the entertainment. How is it that the entertainment is paying out of their pocket so that you will invite them to come to entertain? Entertainers all around the world don't pay out money so they can entertain. Entertainers around the world get paid to entertain. So these concerts, no pop musician, no singer, no singing group, no musician anywhere in the world is going to pay you $80,000 to $100,000 so that they can come and play for your event. They're not going to pay you so they can play for your event. They're going to ask you how much you're going to pay them. So this is another issue, according to the laws of the land, because when you are selling music created by other people and you're keeping the revenue sales from selling that music and you're not giving it to the individuals who created the music, Lucy, you got some explaining to do. You keeping all this money and you're not. And there's been no waiver. There's been no notification. There's been nothing to allow the people to know that you're being recorded, even the live services. So yeah, thank you for confirming that, Hustler. Karine says they pay people under the table. so their business doesn't have to pay taxes on the workers. The workers better make sure a 1099 is not in their name. Some people getting paid under the table, it's fine if it works out for you. And the government knows that people getting paid under the table. So when these things are surfaced and companies are caught for paying people under the table, the government does not generally go after the people who's working in those jobs. They go after the employers because they know the employers are abusing those people. The employers are mistreating and misusing those people. They're underpaying those people. So this is a huge deal. A lot of these things are going to come out. Somebody used to say quite often, what does not come out in the wash will come out in the rinse. Like a lot of this stuff is going to come out as these things come forward. Soon and very soon. Green also says the finances and minutes should be available to any members, not just faithful members. You don't even have to be a member to see records of a nonprofit, and that's 100% true as well. You don't have to be a member to request information from the nonprofit. You don't have to be a member for any of these things. You can request it. You can get it. As long as it's legit, they'll send it to you. Black Diamond's question: if Cunningham is attainted for any illegal violations, would that mean that this Mr. Murray is supposed to carry the orders of the leader of the House of Prayer? That's a very good question. A very good question. If anything were to happen to the current CEO, then where does that leave Mr. Murray? That's a very, very good question. And the answer is honestly, I don't know. That's the scary part in all of this, that the government has documentation naming Mr. Murray as beneficial owner, as director, as registered agent, as the trade name owner. Mr. Murray, Mr. Murray, Mr. Murray, Mr. Murray. If anything happened, so that's a very, very good question. A very good question. I don't know. I'm gonna look into that though. How I got over. So it's not even a chicken wing during the furlough. Oh yeah. See, during the furlough, how I got over says they didn't even give a chicken wing to anybody in need during the furlough. All the things that's asked of the people to give. From the top, the chairmans, the council, the pastors, none of them did anything for anybody during the time of need. I ask a question: why is it all the time when people who, especially at the top of these so-called groups where you would expect at least they're going to treat people in a way that they want to be treated because of the fact that they're over a group of people that says that we're about religion. All the time, why is it that give? They ask, because he needs, take care of him. When in fact, it's not him who needs. When in fact, it's not him you're taking care of. He doesn't need anything. You can't take care of him. He's taking care of all of us. But after hearing this over and over again, when you need, when they need and you say you don't have it, then you got to hear something. In fact, some statements were made last night. Some of y'all ain't never give. Some of y'all ain't never done. Ain't never did. This is an issue because sometimes people are not in the position to give, but the people giving. But when it's time for them and their need, I've seen people who were in, and they go to pastors that can't do nothing for you. Chairmen and councilmen can't. And people went to the head, can't do nothing for you. But the word teaches that those are the ones you're supposed to be helping. The ones in need, you're turning them away. I'm not going to talk about the theology. I'm not talking about the religious beliefs. I'm not going to talk about the doctrine because that's not what the outside agencies concern themselves with. They only concern themselves with the law, period. So, very, very good question, Black Diamond. How I got over it says not even the chicken wing. Oh, how I got over it. Yep. Miss Mess. I took a friend of mine to a convocation service with me one year, and her exact question was, your bishop has 2 wives? Because they see the woman sitting up there and they don't understand what you understand, the members. But it looks odd at the very least. Ms. Miss, of course I responded, absolutely not. Right? Absolutely not. Don't have to. But how does that make sense for the person who asked the question? If you don't have 2 wives, then who are those 2 women over there? Sitting up there where he is. Valid questions. Here, Corinne says, you have a bag for money collected in the aisles. Love March money. But, these are the bags. There's a bag for the money collected in the aisles. There's a bag for the Love March money. There's a bag for the bus love gift money. What? Aisles, Love March, bus love gift, report money, and granny's money. Hopefully I didn't leave out anything. See, this is what I'm saying, members. Y'all have no idea. We had no idea, no clue what's going on. But there's a picture of all the bags. All the bags. Well, not all the bags. Let me see if I can get you to see it. Okay. You see the basket, and you see where the basket is. Now, do you see the brown paper bags on the floor underneath the table? Those are other bags that's going to be used. The brown paper bags on the floor under the table and behind the table. Look. Now do we see it? The bags behind the table, under the table, are already open, ready to be used, right? But the bag 1 second. Let me click this. I don't want. Okay. All right. So let me show you here. Now, right here, you see the basket and you see the bags. So if we zoom out, you see the bag over here? It's already there, waiting for one of the councilmen to pick it up. But you still have those. Now, I took a series of pictures and it shows moment to moment to moment what's going on with the bags. I will not show that on here. But the bag up in the front is sitting there ready for one of them to pick up. And those other bags are sitting there and they have not taken the other bag out yet. But the next few frames show that they're going to take that bag out and roll it up. But you got one up here already. So what's happening with this bag? And then you had other bags. What's happening to those bags? Where are the envelopes that people are taking up from the buses? Where are the envelopes that they're taking from the pastors? They're not in that bag in the front. They're not in that bag right there that's coming out. They weren't in the bags behind or under the table. I'm not going to tell. I know where the bags go, but I'm not going to tell you because I will say that all these things are not going through the procedures that the government has regulated that they should. So what I'm telling you as members, a whole lot of distraction is going on. And so I did not know either that there was more than one bag. It blew me away about 2.5 weeks ago. It hit and I'm examining. I said, oh my. And so it was confirmed for me that there's several more bags. I didn't even think about this list. Okay. So how I got over says, I'm not speaking about family caregivers. Oh, how I got over is saying they're speaking about caregivers for outside family, for a job where you're going out to give care to people under a business that you don't know. Right. And that would require some form of licensing or certification showing that you attended classes provided by a state and received a state certificate, or something that shows that you have qualified training in that area in order to provide the necessary care for these individuals that you are being paid to care for. Right? And that makes a lot of sense. And if that's the case, yeah, this is a huge problem. Either way, questions need to be asked about that as well. And in fact, who knew that the son of Apostle Commodore has businesses where he's looking for members of the House of Prayer to work for him? Who knew that Apostle Commodore had businesses where he got people working for him? Who knew that other apostles in the House of Prayer got people at the House of Prayer working for them in their privately owned businesses. Where was this money coming from to finance these privately owned businesses that you're not telling the members of the House of Prayer nothing about? I'm telling you, people, a lot of questions need to be answered. And if nothing happens, then how much longer is this going to continue? Stand back, wait patiently, because these things are being looked into. And let me continue. Black Diamond says at least 5 bags might be hidden during service. That is ridiculous. 5 bags during the services, at least 2-3 services a weekend, 2-3 nights of bags and bags and bags being collected of what? Throughout the service, this is what's happening. Why they're using you, bands, and you, choirs, to distract the people so that they can take and take and take and take and take, while having documentation being used by the government in order to do things that we don't know is being done outside of our knowledge, according to the documentation that allows them to benefit from all this activity and from the property owned by the organization. There are certain tasks that an unlicensed caregiver can perform, which are non-medical daily living assistance, right? Right. And in that regard, both are correct. There's some things that you can do and you don't have no training for, pushing a wheelchair, helping you around the house. But other things, administering medications, dressing a wound, assisting with a needle, even when it comes to a sponge bath, to be able to give CPR, first aid itself, there's certificates given for these things. To dress a wound, you need training. You can't just handle this stuff because of the fact of the risk of contaminating individuals or causing their conditions to get worse because of the spreading of bacteria or germs and other types of things that could happen from you being around them, and perhaps even causing these people to be put at risk because you have things, contagions, that you don't know about. All this training is necessary. But there are some situations where none of that is required, but it has to be a light situation. If you're running a business and you're providing care in a business, no, you need to have certified individuals working for you. So again, this raises a lot of serious questions. Miss Mint says, wait, there's more than one money bag? What? Same thing. Never knew. Never knew. How I got over, I've seen Murray go out with a black backpack. I'm guessing it had money. It's questionable. I mean, you're an apostle in a religious organization and you're attending a service. What is a backpack for? A lot of this stuff makes no sense. My point is, things need to be brought forward. Quite simply put, we can either turn a deaf ear and a blind eye or not. It's just way too much. It's way too much. I'm curious as to what happened in Philadelphia today. I'm curious as to when recordings will go out. But this is just way too much. I want to take the time to thank you all. I completely forgot about the time. I completely forgot that even said I had a time limit. I got caught up in this information that came out and the questions that were being asked. So anyway, let me say that I thank each and every single one of you for your attention, for your questions, for your patience in listening uh, to the information, as well as coming back so you can listen to other people and their response to this information. I want to thank you all for your support. I want to thank you all for making yourselves available. I want to thank you all for reaching out for your questions, for your texts, for your emails, for your testimonies, for sharing your experiences. I want to thank you all for all of the things that you have done and that you have offered in order to bring us to this point, because there's no way possible that we could have done any of this. I want to say also to the individuals that have been waiting to come forward, um, reach out to me um, if you would like to do something currently, right now. If you've been waiting to come forward and you want to do something now instead of waiting a little longer, reach out to me. There's something that's been brought to my attention that we might be able to do and set up on behalf of the viewers and the listeners to perhaps speed this up a little bit more, or um, to allow individuals to hear your stories a lot sooner than we had originally anticipated. Um, Reach out and we'll go from there. In the meantime, once again, thank you all for your time. Um, as you consider this information, jot down any questions that you may have lingering, jot down anything that you get from other people. And with that said, and without much further ado, I want to allow you to enjoy the remainder of your evening. I hope you enjoy this coming week. This is spring break coming up for some. For others, spring break will be next week. So enjoy your time off. Parents, enjoy your work week. Children and students, enjoy your mini vacation. And we'll be looking forward to seeing you uh, a few days from now as we come back with the Bible studies next Saturday and Sunday at 3:00 p.m. Eastern, and the next fellowship on next Sunday at 6 p.m. Thank you once again, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your evening. We'll see you next time. Have a good one.